The massive ship appeared above Earth without warning. It was bigger than any structure humans had ever built, stretching across the sky like a metal mountain. The ship's hull gleamed with a purple shine that hurt to look at directly. Inside the United Nations building in New York, every phone rang at once. Every computer screen showed the same message in perfect English. Prepare to receive the representatives of the Zalathian Galactic Empire. Secretary General Chen stood in the assembly hall, watching the chaos around her. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice cut through the noise like a knife. Everyone calm down. We knew this day would come. Execute Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was Earth's first contact plan. Humanity had been preparing for 20 years, ever since they detected the first alien signals from deep space. But knowing aliens existed and seeing their ship hanging over your planet were two very different things. The alien shuttle landed in Central Park 30 minutes later. The military had cleared the area, but millions watched on their screens as the door opened. Ambassador Korthax stepped out first. He stood 9 feet tall with blue-scaled skin and 4 arms. His eyes were completely black like a shark's. Behind him came 50 guards, each carrying weapons that hummed with energy. Chen met them at the UN building with Earth's delegation. She offered her hand in greeting, but Korthax just stared at it. "You are the leader of this world?" he asked. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "I speak for the United Nations, which represents all of Earth's people," Chen replied calmly. Korthax made a sound that might have been laughter. "One planet, yet you need multiple nations? How primitive." He walked past her into the building like he owned it. In the assembly hall, Korthax didn't sit. He stood at the podium and looked around at the gathered representatives from Earth's 195 nations. "I am Ambassador Korthax of the Zalathian Galactic Empire. We rule 10,000 star systems. We have technology beyond your comprehension. We have existed for 50,000 of your years." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your planet has been selected for the honor of joining our empire. You will cease all independent government immediately. Your resources will be harvested for the empire's use. Your people will work in our mines and factories. In return, we will allow you to live." The silence in the room was complete. Then Chen stood up. "And if we refuse?" Korthax's black eyes turned to her. "Refuse, little creature, look at your world. You have barely touched your own moon. You fight among yourselves with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. We could destroy your entire civilization in minutes." "You could try," Chen said quietly. The room gasped. Several ambassadors tried to speak, but Chen held up her hand. "Ambassador Korthax, Earth respectfully declines your offer. We will remain independent." Korthax's 4 arms spread wide. "You cannot decline. This is not a negotiation. You have 72 hours to surrender. If you do not, we will demonstrate our power. Your moon will be our first target." General Patterson, head of Earth's combined military forces, stood up. He was a large man with scars on his face from old wars. "You threaten us with destruction?" "Sir, I've fought in wars since I was 18. I've seen nuclear weapons tested. I've watched cities burn. If you think humans will simply roll over and submit, you don't know our history." Korthax looked at the general with something like pity. "Your history? We have conquered species that traveled the stars when your ancestors were living in caves. Your nuclear weapons are fireworks compared to our antimatter bombs. Your fighters cannot even leave your atmosphere efficiently. What can you possibly do against us?" Chen walked forward until she stood directly in front of Korthax. She had to look up to meet his eyes. "Ambassador, Earth has a saying, don't mess with things you don't understand. We strongly advise you to reconsider your position." "Is that a threat?" Korthax asked, amused. "It's a warning," Chen replied. "Humans are not like other species you may have conquered. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and each other. We split the atom not to create energy, but to create weapons. We went to our moon not to explore, but to prove we could beat our enemies there. War is not something we learned. It's something we're trying to forget." Korthax laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Pretty words from a pretty primitive. You have 72 hours. He turned to leave, then stopped. "Actually, I think a demonstration now would be more effective." He touched a device on his arm. Outside, people screamed and pointed at the sky. On the screens in the assembly hall, everyone watched as a beam of purple light shot from the Empire's ship toward the moon. Where it hit, there was a flash that lit up the night sky. When the light faded, the moon had a new crater. The Humanity First lunar base, home to 500 scientists and their families, was gone. The room erupted in shouts and cries. Several ambassadors were weeping. Others were shouting curses in dozen languages. But Chen stood perfectly still, her face like stone. Korthak smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. That was one small base. Imagine what we can do to your cities. 71 hours and 45 minutes remain. He walked toward the door with his guards. Just before leaving, he turned back. Oh, and we've deployed a blockade around your planet. Any ship trying to leave will be destroyed. Any weapon fired at our vessels will result in immediate retaliation against a major city. You may discuss surrender among yourselves. After the aliens left, the assembly hall was chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others called for nuclear strikes. Chen let them argue for exactly 5 minutes. Then she walked to the podium and spoke a single word into the microphone. Ragnarok. The room went silent. Every military representative stood up at once and left the room. On screens across the world, a simple message appeared. Protocol Ragnarok initiated. Shelter in place. Prepare for war. Chen looked at the remaining ambassadors. Ladies and gentlemen, Korthax made 3 mistakes. First, he assumed we would tell him the truth about our capabilities. Second, he killed our people and thought we would be scared instead of angry. Third, and most importantly, he gave us 72 hours. She pulled out her phone and made a single call. Admiral Washington. Yes, I saw. How long until the hidden platforms are ready? 6 hours? Good, and Project Crossbow? Excellent. Tell the Mars colony to begin Operation Red Storm. Yes, all of it. She hung up and looked at the confused faces around her. You want to know a secret? We've been preparing for this for 50 years. Ever since we detected the first alien signals, we knew this day would come. Every nation on Earth has been building weapons in secret. Not against each other, but against them. The French ambassador stood up. The budget black holes? The missing resources? We're building weapons platforms hidden behind radar-scattering fields. We're building mass drivers on Mars. We're turning asteroids into kinetic weapons. We're creating AI systems that can target and fire faster than any organic being can react. Chen smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. Korthax thinks we're primitives with nuclear weapons. He's about to learn that humans are very, very good at killing things. Outside, the purple ship hung in the sky like a threat, but in bunkers and secret facilities across Earth, humanity prepared for war. Scientists ran final checks on weapons that had never been tested. Soldiers loaded ammunition into guns designed to punch through alien armor. And in orbit, hidden by the best stealth technology humans could create, thousands of weapons platforms slowly turned their barrels toward the enemy. The countdown had begun. Not to Earth's surrender, but to humanity showing the galaxy why Earth should never have been threatened. The Zalathian Empire thought they were dealing with primitives. They were about to learn they had awakened something far more dangerous, a species that had turned war into a science, and who had been preparing for this moment since they first looked at the stars and wondered who else was out there. 6 hours after the aliens left, Admiral Washington stood in the command center hidden deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain. The room was filled with screens showing every inch of space around Earth. Red dots marked the 50 Zalathian ships forming a blockade around the planet. Status report, Washington commanded. He was an older man with white hair and steady hands that had pressed the launch buttons in 3 different wars. All platforms report ready, sir, Lieutenant Singh replied. We have 15,000 hidden weapons platforms in orbit. The Mars colony has 20 mass drivers online. The asteroid belt mining stations have confirmed their special packages are armed. Washington nodded. And the AI systems? Artemis is online and running tactical simulations. She's completed 40 million combat scenarios in the last hour. Success rate is holding at 87%. On the main screen, a timer counted down. 65 hours until the deadline. But Washington wasn't planning to wait that long. In New York, Secretary General Chen was in a secure video conference with world leaders. President Harrison of the United States looked grim. Are we really doing this? We're about to start a war with a galactic empire. They started it when they killed our people, Chen replied. 500 souls on that moon base. Children among them. But their technology, began Prime Minister Patel of India, is not as far ahead as they think, Chen interrupted. Our scientists have been analyzing their ships for the last 6 hours. Yes, they have energy shields and beam weapons, but their tactics are predictable. They fight like ancient armies, lined up in formation following strict patterns. They've never fought humans. President Volkov of Russia laughed bitterly. They've never fought a species that invented mutually assured destruction and thought it was a good basis for peace. Chen pulled up a hologram showing the alien fleet. Look at their formation. They're spread out evenly, each ship the same distance from the next. It's perfect. Too perfect. They fight with rules and honor. We're about to teach them that humans don't. Back in Cheyenne Mountain, Washington received a message. Sir, the Chinese report their orbital mirrors are in position. The what? Asked a young officer. Washington smiled grimly. Officially, they're solar power collectors. Unofficially, they can focus sunlight into a beam hot enough to melt steel. And we have 3,000 of them. Admiral. Artemis's artificial voice spoke from the speakers. I've identified a weakness in their shield configuration. They pulse every 43 seconds for 0.03 seconds. It's likely for sensor sweeps. Can we exploit it? Yes, if we time our attacks precisely, we can strike during the pulse gaps. Washington turned to his staff. Begin Operation Prometheus. All units prepare to fire on my mark. In orbit, things began to move. What the Zalathians thought was empty space suddenly filled with human weapons. Platforms that had been invisible dropped their stealth fields. The aliens had been looking for technology like theirs. Energy signatures, antimatter reactors, exotic particles. They never thought to look for simple metal and ceramic hidden behind basic radar scattering panels. On the Zalathian command ship, Admiral Korthax was enjoying a meal when alarm started screaming. What is happening? He demanded. Ships, weapons. They're everywhere. His sensor officer was panicking. How did they hide this many platforms? Before Korthax could answer, the first salvo hit. Not energy beams or plasma bolts, but simple kinetic weapons. Tungsten rods accelerated to 20% the speed of light. They punched through the shield gaps Artemis had identified and tore through the alien ships like paper. 3 Zalathian vessels exploded in the first second. 5 more were crippled, and the humans were just getting started. From Mars, the mass drivers opened fire. These were railguns that could shoot projectiles at incredible speeds. Each shot was timed to arrive just as the shields pulsed. From the asteroid belt, miners had turned their equipment into weapons. They launched asteroids fitted with engines and nuclear warheads. Primitive but devastating. Return fire, Korthax screamed. Purple beams lashed out from his ships, destroying hundreds of human platforms. But for every one they killed, 10 more seemed to appear. And the humans didn't stop. They didn't retreat. They just kept firing. Then came something the Zalathians had never seen in warfare. The destroyed human platforms exploded, but not randomly. They detonated in patterns that created clouds of metal fragments, shrapnel that spread through space like deadly snow. Zalathian fighters flew into these clouds and were shredded. They're using their destroyed units as weapons. Korthax's tactical officer couldn't believe it. What kind of species does that? On Earth, Chen watched the battle on the main screen. The aliens were fighting back hard. New York was taking fire. The energy beams stopped by hidden shield generators that humanity had built beneath every major city. The shields wouldn't last long, but they didn't need to. Launch the swarm, Chen ordered. From hidden silos across Earth, millions of drones launched. Each was no bigger than a basketball, equipped with simple thrusters and a small explosive charge. They weren't sophisticated. They didn't need to be. There were just so many of them. The drone swarm rose like a dark cloud from Earth's surface. The Zalathians fired their beam weapons, destroying thousands, but millions more kept coming. They attached to the alien ships like insects, exploding in coordinated patterns that overloaded shields and damaged weapons. Korthax watched his tactical display in horror. He had brought 50 ships to conquer Earth. 20 were already destroyed. 10 more were badly damaged, and the humans showed no sign of stopping. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Chen's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, the UN Assembly Hall was converted into a war room with military officers from every nation working side by side. Ambassador Korthax, she said calmly, we tried to warn you. Surrender now and we'll allow you to leave. Never, Korthax snarled. We are the Zalathian Empire. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. And we evolved on a death world, Chen replied. Every creature on our planet had to fight to survive. We didn't reach the top of our food chain by being peaceful. We did it by being better killers than everything else. Your empire conquered civilized species. You've never fought barbarians with nuclear weapons. As she spoke, something new appeared on Korthax's sensors. Ships were launching from Earth, not many, just 12. But these weren't like anything in the Zalathian database. They were ugly, brutal things, all angles and armor. Human battleships built in secret over decades. The lead ship was called the Revenge. It had been constructed inside a hollowed-out asteroid, hidden from all sensors. Its main gun was a mass driver that ran the entire length of the ship. Captain Morrison sat in the command chair, her face grim. All ships, this is Revenge. Remember the moon base? No mercy. The human battleships opened fire. Their weapons were primitive by galactic standards. Nuclear missiles, kinetic weapons, even chemical explosives. But they used them with a creativity that horrified the Zalathians. Nuclear weapons detonated in patterns that created electromagnetic pulses, disabling alien systems. Kinetic rounds were aimed not at ships but at the debris from destroyed vessels, turning them into shotgun blasts of shrapnel. And then the humans did something that would be remembered across the galaxy for millennia. 3 of their battleships accelerated to ramming speed, their crews still aboard. They smashed into Zalathian vessels, detonating their entire nuclear arsenals on impact. They killed themselves to kill us. Korthax's voice was high with disbelief. What manner of insanity is this? But humanity wasn't done. From the surface of Earth, every nation launched everything they had. Nuclear missiles, conventional missiles, even repurposed space shuttles packed with explosives. It was wasteful, primitive, and absolutely devastating. The battle had lasted 12 minutes. The Zalathian blockade fleet was gone, destroyed not by superior technology, but by the simple fact that humans were willing to do anything, sacrifice anything to win. Where the aliens fought with rules and honor, humans fought with the desperate fury of a cornered animal. As the last Zalathian ship exploded, Chen spoke again to Korthax, whose command ship was the only one still functioning, though badly damaged. You have lost, Ambassador. Your fleet is destroyed. Take this message back to your empire. Earth is off limits. Come here again and we won't just destroy your fleets, we'll bring the war to you. And Ambassador? We're very good at war. We've been practicing on each other for thousands of years. Imagine what we can do when we have a common enemy. Korthax's damaged command ship limped back to Zalathian space, leaking atmosphere and trailing debris. The journey took 3 weeks. 3 weeks for him to replay the 12-minute battle that had destroyed his entire fleet. 3 weeks to try to understand how primitives with chemical rockets had defeated the Empire's technology. When he arrived at the capital world of Zalathia Prime, the High Council was waiting. The council chamber was a vast dome of crystal, with 1,000 seats arranged in circles. Every seat was filled. The defeat of a conquest fleet had never happened in the Empire's 50,000-year history. Explain, commanded High Chancellor Zorax. He was ancient. Even by Zalathian standards, his scales white with age. How did one primitive world destroy 50 ships? Korthax stood in the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of 1,000 stares. They were not what we expected. They hid their true capabilities. They fought without honor, without rules. They used suicide attacks. They turned their own dead into weapons. Impossible, said Counselor Verax. No species would destroy itself to destroy an enemy. Humans would, Korthax replied. They have a concept called mutually assured destruction. They built weapons that could end their own world and aimed them at each other. For decades, and called it peace, the council murmured in disbelief. Zorax raised a hand for silence. Then we will send a proper war fleet. 10,000 ships. We will glass their world from orbit. That would be unwise, Korthax said carefully. You dare question the council? Zorax's voice was dangerous. I question whether we understand what we're dealing with, Korthax replied. In the 3 weeks it took me to return, Earth has been busy. He activated a hologram showing intelligence reports. They've reverse-engineered our FTL technology from the debris of our ships. They're building new vessels. But more concerning, they're not defending. They're preparing to attack. The hologram showed human ships massing near Earth. Not the 12 battleships from before, but hundreds of new vessels. Rough, ugly things built from salvaged alien technology and human engineering. Furthermore, Korthax continued, they've been broadcasting. Every species in the galaxy now knows that Earth defeated a Zalathian fleet. Some are calling it impossible, others are wondering if the Empire is as invincible as we claim. Before the council could respond, alarms began blaring. "Hi, Chancellor." A guard rushed in. "Unknown ships have appeared in our outer system." On the main display, 3 human vessels materialized from FTL. They were small, barely corvette-sized by Zalathian standards. But they moved wrong. Too fast, too agile. Where Zalathian ships moved in elegant arcs, these darted like insects. A message played across all channels. The human speaking was young, wearing a uniform with no designation of rank. "Greetings, Zalathian Empire. I'm Sergeant Collins, United Earth Special Forces. We're here to deliver a message." The 3 ships suddenly multiplied. What looked like 3 vessels was actually 300, using some kind of stealth technology to hide in the sensor shadows of the lead ships. They scattered across the system before the defense fleet could react. "As you can see," Collins continued, "we can reach you. These 300 ships, they're not here to fight. They're here to make a point. Computer, execute Pandora protocol." Every human ship exploded simultaneously, but these weren't normal explosions. They released clouds of something, billions of tiny objects that spread through the system like glitter. Zorax turned to his science advisor. "What did they do?" The advisor was scanning frantically. They appear to have released surveillance devices, microscopic cameras and transmitters. Billions of them. They're attaching to everything. Ships, stations, even debris. We're trying to destroy them, but there are too many. Collins's message continued, obviously pre-recorded. "Those are our eyes and ears. We're now watching everything you do. Every ship movement, every communication, every plan you make. Try to remove them, we'll know. Mass your fleet, we'll know. And High Chancellor, we know where you live now." The transmission changed to show Earth, but it wasn't the Earth from 3 weeks ago. The planet was surrounded by a cloud of ships and platforms. Thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. Construction yards hung in orbit, building more vessels every hour. "This is Secretary General Chen," a different voice said. "In 3 weeks, we've built a fleet. Give us 3 months and we'll build an armada. Give us 3 years and we'll build enough ships to visit every world in your empire. We don't want war, but if you force it upon us, we'll prosecute it with every fiber of our being." The image changed to show human history. Wars, nuclear explosions, cities burning, but also rebuilt cities, former enemies shaking hands, joint space missions between old rivals. "We learned something from our history," Chen continued. "War is easy for us, too easy. We're very, very good at it. That's why we try so hard to avoid it. Because when humans go to war, we don't stop until the enemy is destroyed or becomes our friend. There's no middle ground." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some called for immediate retaliation. Others pointed out that if humans could reach the capital so easily, what else could they do? Then something worse happened. Counselor Thrak from the Intelligence Division stood up. "High Chancellor, we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Human infiltration teams have been detected on 17 worlds." "What?" Zorax stood up, his ancient joints protesting. "How? Unknown. But they're not attacking. They're just watching and broadcasting. They're showing our subjects the battle at Earth. They're showing that we can be defeated." On the display, a new message appeared. This time it was a different human, dressed in black with no visible weapons. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Zhang, Human Intelligence Services. Right now, there are 10,000 humans spread across your empire. We walked through your spaceports. We sat in your restaurants. We learned your languages in 3 weeks. We mapped your defenses." She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "We could poison your water supplies. We could destroy your power grids. We could crash your economy with computer viruses. But we haven't, we won't unless you force us to. But understand this. We could end your empire without firing a shot. Your technology is superior, but you've forgotten how to fight dirty. We never learned how to fight clean." The High Council was in chaos. Reports flooded in from across the Empire. Human infiltrators on resort worlds taking pictures with tourists. Human hackers had taken over advertising boards to show human military parades. Human ships appearing and disappearing at the edges of systems just to prove they could. Counselor Mortis, the eldest military advisor, stood slowly. "High Chancellor, I've fought in 300 campaigns. I've conquered 50 worlds. And I tell you now, we cannot win this war. Explain yourself," Zorax demanded. "Look at what they've done in 3 weeks. They reverse-engineered our technology, built a fleet, infiltrated our worlds, and demonstrated they can strike our capital at will. They fight without rules, without hesitation, without mercy. But most terrifying of all, they're learning. Each encounter, they get better. Each battle, they adapt faster. He pointed at the tactical display. Our empire took 50,000 years to build. We fight with tradition, with honor codes established millennia ago. They've been in space for less than a century, and they're already matching us. What will they be like in 10 years? 100? Another message from Earth played. This time it was General Patterson, the scarred human from the first meeting. You want to know the difference between us? You evolved in paradise and learned war as philosophy. We evolved in hell and learned war as survival. You fight to conquer. We fight to end the threat, permanently. He paused, his scarred face grim. I've fought in 13 wars on Earth. I've seen men, women, and children die for causes they believed in. I've ordered nuclear strikes. I've watched cities burn. And I'm tired of it. We're all tired of it. That's why we united as a planet. Not from hope, but from exhaustion with killing each other. The general leaned forward. But if you make us fight, we'll remember how. We'll remember every dirty trick, every brutal tactic, every merciless strategy we've ever used. And we'll use them all on you, because that's what humans do. We survive. No matter the cost. The council fell silent. Finally, Zorak spoke. Send a message to Earth. The Zalathian Empire requests a ceasefire to discuss terms. But before the message could be sent, every screen in the chamber activated. Chen appeared, obviously watching them in real time through the surveillance devices. High Chancellor Zorax, we accept your request for discussions. Our diplomats will arrive in 1 week. But understand something. This is not a negotiation for our surrender. This is a discussion about how our two civilizations can coexist. Peacefully, we hope, she paused. Oh, and High Chancellor, the surveillance devices will self-destruct in 72 hours. We keep our word. Unlike your predecessor, who promised to conquer us and instead gave us the keys to the galaxy. Thank you for the FTL technology, by the way. We've made some improvements you might find interesting. The transmission ended. The council sat in stunned silence. They had ruled the galaxy for 50 millennia, and in 3 weeks a single planet of primitives had brought them to the negotiating table. The Galactic Council's emergency session was held on Neutral Station 7, a massive structure floating in empty space between empires. Representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy had gathered. Word of Earth's victory over the Zalathian fleet had spread faster than light itself. The ancient Varathi representative, Elder Kasvor, called the session to order. The Varathi were the oldest spacefaring race, having watched civilizations rise and fall for 100,000 years. They had never called an emergency session before. We are here to discuss the humans, Kasvor said simply. His crystalline form pulsed with different colors as he spoke. In 3 weeks they have done what no species has accomplished in recorded history. They defeated a Zalathian conquest fleet and then invaded the empire itself. Ambassador Grix of the Kepler Alliance stood up. The Keplerians were scholars and scientists, keeping detailed records of every species. Our analysis is complete. The humans are impossible. Explain, Kasvor prompted. Grix activated a hologram showing Earth. They achieved spaceflight only 60 of their years ago. They should still be struggling with fusion power. Instead, they've hidden an entire military infrastructure, reverse-engineered FTL drives in days, and demonstrated tactical capabilities that surpass species with millennia of experience. Like perhaps the Zalathians were simply overconfident, suggested Ambassador Threll of the Morvac Federation. No, Grix replied. Watch this. The hologram showed the 12-minute battle. The council watched in silence as human ships rammed enemy vessels, as destroyed platforms were turned into weapons, as millions of drones swarmed like angry insects. They fight like no other species, Grix continued. Every other race in this council developed rules of war, codes of honor. The humans appear to have only one rule: win. At any cost. The hologram changed to show human history. Wars, genocides, nuclear weapons, but also art, music, poetry, and science advancing at impossible speeds. They are contradictions, Grix said. They create beautiful art and terrible weapons with equal passion. They speak of peace while preparing for war. They value individual life, but will sacrifice thousands for victory. Our xenopsychologists cannot create a consistent model of their behavior. A new voice spoke from the entrance. That's because you're trying to understand us as one thing. Everyone turned. A human delegation had arrived led by Chen, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood representatives from different Earth nations, all wearing different uniforms. "May we address the council?" Chen asked formally. Casivore gestured for them to continue. The humans walked to the center of the chamber. Chen noticed several representatives flinch away from them. Fear. Good. Let them be afraid. "You want to understand humans?" Chen began. "Then understand this: we are not one unified mind like the Varathi. We are not driven by pure logic like the Keplerians. We are 7 billion individuals who barely agree on anything except survival." General Patterson stepped forward. "I'm American. My great-grandfather fought the Japanese in World War II. Brutal combat, no quarter given." He gestured to the woman beside him. "This is Admiral Yamamoto of the Japanese Defense Force. Her great-grandfather fought mine. Now we serve together. That's humanity. We fight each other viciously, then become strongest allies." A Russian colonel spoke next. "My country and America pointed nuclear weapons at each other for 50 years. We came within minutes of ending the world. Multiple times. Then we built a space station together. We are insane by your standards." "We know this," Chen resumed control. "You fear us because we defeated the Zalathians. But you should understand why we fought so hard. They killed our children. 500 people on that moon base, including 137 children. In human culture, killing children is the one unforgivable sin. The hologram behind them changed to show faces. 500 faces. Names, ages, stories. The youngest was 4 years old. Every human ship in that battle had these faces in their computers," Chen said. "Every soldier knew their names. We didn't fight for glory or conquest. We fought for revenge. And that's what makes us dangerous. We take things personally." Ambassador Thian of the Ethereal Collective floated forward. They were beings of pure energy, having transcended physical form eons ago. "You speak of revenge as if it's noble. It's primitive." "Yes," Chen agreed. "We are primitive. We still have instincts from when we were prey animals on the African plains. Fight or flight. Kill or be killed. We've built civilization on top of these instincts, but they're still there. When threatened, we become the predators our ancestors feared." The hologram changed again, showing human special forces on various Zalathian worlds. But they weren't attacking. They were sitting in cafes playing with alien children, teaching curious locals human games. "But here's what you're missing," Chen continued. "Yes, we're dangerous. Yes, we're violent. But we're also curious. We want to know everything. Meet everyone, try every food, learn every language. The same instincts that make us dangerous make us the most adaptable species you'll ever meet." Lieutenant Commander Zhang from Intelligence stepped forward. "In 3 weeks we learned 17 Zalathian languages. We figured out their technology, their culture, their weak points. But we also learned their poetry, their music, their hopes and fears. That's human nature. We can't help but empathize even with our enemies." Casivore's crystalline form shifted to a deep blue, indicating thought. "You claim to be empathetic, yet you threatened to destroy their entire empire." "We threatened it so we wouldn't have to do it," Chen replied. "Humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. We showed them the stick so we could speak softly." The chamber fell silent. Then unexpectedly Ambassador Korthax entered. The Zalathian looked different, humbled. He approached the human delegation and did something no Zalathian had ever done. He bowed to another species. "The Empire has agreed to terms," he announced to the Council. "Earth's solar system is recognized as sovereign territory. No Zalathian ship will enter without permission. In exchange, humans will share their perspective on warfare for defensive purposes only." The Council erupted in discussion. The mighty Zalathian Empire making peace with a single planet? It was unprecedented. Elder Casivore raised a limb for silence. The humans have proven themselves capable of both terrible destruction and surprising diplomacy. The question before us is simple. Do we treat Earth as a threat to be contained or as a potential member of the galactic community? Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring. On the main screen, a massive object appeared from FTL. It wasn't a ship. It was an asteroid fitted with engines and weapons with a human flag painted on its surface. A message played. It was from a human nobody recognized. A young woman in a mining uniform. "Hi, I'm Sarah from Asteroid Mining Collective 12. We heard there was a big meeting about us, so we thought we'd stop by. We brought snacks." Cargo bays on the asteroid opened, revealing not weapons but shipping containers. We've got coffee from Earth, chocolate, pizza, frozen but it reheats well, and about 3 tons of what we call movie night popcorn. Also, we brought something special. The containers opened to reveal art, human art, paintings, sculptures, musical instruments, but also collaborative pieces. Human artists working with materials and techniques they'd learned from studying Zalathian debris. We figured if we're going to be neighbors, we should get to know each other, Sarah continued. So this is an invitation. Any species that wants to visit Earth is welcome. We'll show you our cities, our history, our food. Fair warning, we're weird. We keep animals as companions, not food. We jump out of aircraft for fun. We eat foods that are technically poison because we like the taste. But we're also the species that looked at the stars and said, I wonder who's out there. So come visit. We'd love to meet you. The asteroid activated its engines and departed as suddenly as it had arrived, leaving the containers floating in space. The council sat in stunned silence. They had been debating whether humans were a threat. The humans had responded by bringing snacks and art. Ambassador Grix was scanning the containers. The coffee alone is worth a fortune on the galactic market. They just gave it away? That's humans, Korthak said quietly. They'll fight to the death over an insult, then give away their valuables to make friends. They are chaos incarnate, Chen smiled. We prefer to think of ourselves as complicated. So what does the council say? Are we enemies, or are we going to have the galaxy's first interspecies pizza party? Elder Cassivor's form shifted through a spectrum of colors, the Varathi equivalent of laughter. In 100,000 years of watching the galaxy, I have never seen anything like your species. You are dangerous, irrational, and completely unpredictable. He paused. You'll fit right in. The Galactic Council formally recognizes Earth and extends an invitation for humanity to join as a provisional member. The chamber erupted in discussion, but Chen noticed something important. Representatives were already moving toward the containers, curious about human art and food. The Keplerian was examining coffee beans with scientific intensity. A Morvac was poking at a pizza box. General Patterson leaned over to Chen. Think they're ready for what humanity's really like? Chen watched as an ethereal being tried to figure out how to eat popcorn without a physical form. 1 year had passed since humanity's first contact with the Zalathian Empire. The galaxy had changed more in that single year than in the previous 1,000. The change started small but spread like ripples in a pond. The Galactic Council was in session again, but this time the atmosphere was different. Representatives munched on Earth snacks that had become surprisingly popular. The Keplerian ambassador was addicted to coffee. The ethereals had figured out how to experience taste by possessing willing humans temporarily. Just for meals, Elder Cassivor called the session to order, though his crystalline form now had a small human-made decoration attached, a gift from a human child who had visited the station. We gather today for the formal review of Earth's provisional membership. Ambassador Chen, please present your report. Chen stood, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood not just human representatives, but also several aliens wearing Earth badges. Elder Cassivor, distinguished representatives, I present Earth's first-year report. But first, I'd like you to meet our new citizens. A young Zalathian stepped forward. I'm Torex. I was a junior officer in the fleet that attacked Earth. I was captured when my escape pod crashed in Japan. I expected torture, death. Instead, a human family took me in, fed me. Their children taught me their games. I requested asylum. I now work as a translator and cultural bridge between our species. More aliens stepped forward. A Keplerian scientist who had joined Earth's space program, a Morvac artist collaborating with human musicians, even an ethereal who had become fascinated with human philosophy and now taught at Earth universities. In 1 year, Chen continued, Earth has welcomed 3,000 non-human immigrants. They came as visitors and chose to stay. Meanwhile, 5 million humans have spread across the galaxy. And here's where it gets interesting. The hologram showed human settlements on various worlds. But these weren't colonies or military bases. They were restaurants, schools, hospitals, entertainment venues. Humans don't conquer, Chen explained. We infiltrate with culture. There are now pizza places on 40 worlds, human hospitals using our experience with trauma medicine from our wars on 20 more, and something we didn't expect, mixed families. The display showed images that would have been impossible to imagine a year ago. A human and a Keplerian running a research station together, Zalathian children playing human games, a Morvac human music group that had somehow figured out how to blend their completely different styles. Ambassador Korthax stood to speak. The Zalathian had changed much in a year. He now wore a human-made tie with his traditional robes, a gift from Chen that he wore proudly. The Zalathian Empire wishes to speak about the humans. The council tensed. Everyone remembered the conflict. We were wrong, Korthax said simply. We saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds. We have since learned that humans defeated us not despite their primitive nature, but because of it. They still have the instincts of survival that we lost millennia ago, but more importantly, they have something we lost, joy and discovery. He activated his own hologram. This is the Zalathian Military Academy. For 30,000 years, it has taught the same tactics, the same strategies. This is the academy today. The image showed Zalathian cadets training alongside human instructors, but they weren't just learning weapons. They were playing capture the flag, learning guerrilla tactics, studying something humans called thinking outside the box. Human Major Thompson introduced war games, Korthax continued. Not real combat, but simulated battles with strange rules. Capture the flag, paintball, laser tag. We thought it was childish. Then we realized, humans learn through play. They make war a game so they can master it without killing. It's brilliant and terrifying. The Keplerian ambassador Grix stood next. The science division has a similar report. Humans approach problems unlike any species we've encountered. Last month, a human intern solved a mathematics problem we'd been working on for 200 years. When we asked how, she said she got drunk and thought it looked fun. They discover things by accident that we spend centuries calculating. That's because we're not afraid to be wrong, said Professor Martinez, Earth's new science attaché. Humans have a saying, failure is just another form of data. We try everything, no matter how stupid it might seem. That's how we went from discovering fire to splitting the atom in just a few thousand years. Elder Cassivore shifted colors, indicating amusement. And what of the infamous human military? The force that defeated the Zalathian Empire? General Patterson stood up. Mostly disbanded. We keep a defense force, but here's what we learned. We don't need a massive military when everyone's afraid of us going crazy. Our reputation is better than any fleet. He activated a display showing military statistics. But we did something else. We created the Human Emergency Response Fleet. Disasters, medical emergencies, rescue operations. The same instincts that make us good at war make us excellent at saving lives under pressure. We've responded to 17 emergencies this year. Saved approximately 40,000 lives across 9 species. A Morvac representative stood up. My colony was hit by an asteroid. The humans arrived in days, but they didn't just bring medical supplies. They brought engineers, construction workers, teachers, even entertainers for the children. They stayed for months, not as conquerors, but as neighbors helping neighbors. My people will never forget. Chen took control again. But we should be honest about problems too. Humans are not perfect members of the galactic community. She showed a list of incidents. 37 bar fights between humans and other species. 200 cases of humans attempting to pet dangerous alien creatures because they looked cute. One human tried to surf a solar flare. Another attempted to eat a plant that was technically a sentient being, though he did apologize. And somehow a group of human tourists managed to crash the Ethereal Collective's consciousness network by trying to upload cat videos. The ethereal representative flickered in annoyance. Those videos are still circulating in our consciousness. We cannot remove them. They are disturbingly addictive. The point is, Chen continued, humans are chaotic. We're going to make mistakes, cause problems, and probably accidentally insult every species at least once. But we're also going to bring innovation, creativity, and a perspective that the galaxy has never seen. A new voice spoke from the back. It was High Chancellor Zorax himself, making his first appearance outside Zalathian space in a millennium. I wish to share something. After our defeat, I was ready to mobilize our entire empire for war. Then I received a message. Not from Earth's government, but from a human child. 8 years old, he displayed the message. It was a drawing, clearly made by a young hand. It showed humans and Zalathians holding hands under a rainbow. The message read, Dear Mr. Alien Leader, I'm sorry our people fought. Fighting is bad. Would you like to be friends instead? I drew this for you. Love, Emma. An 8-year-old child had more wisdom than our entire High Council. Zorax continued. She was right. Fighting was bad. Being friends is better. The Zalathian Empire formally supports full membership for Earth. One by one, other representatives stood to voice support. The vote was called. It was unanimous. Elder Cassavor's form shifted to pure white, the highest honor. Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council. May the cosmos help us all, Chen smiled. Thank you. To celebrate, we've arranged something special. The main screen activated, showing Earth, but something was different. Words were appearing on the planet's surface, written in lights across continents. They spelled out messages in every known galactic language. Welcome to the neighborhood. Every human on Earth with access to a light helped spell this out, Chen explained. 7 billion people working together for one message. That's humanity. We can't agree on pizza toppings, but we can unite to welcome our new friends. Then something unexpected happened. Music began playing through the station's speakers. Human music, but somehow modified to be pleasant to all species' hearing ranges. A hologram appeared showing humans across the galaxy, all participating in the same celebration. Dancing, singing, raising glasses of various liquids and toast. We have one more announcement, Chen said. Earth is establishing the first interspecies university. Free education for any being in the galaxy. We'll teach our sciences, our arts, our history, but more importantly, we want to learn yours. Every culture, every perspective, every way of thinking. Because that's what humans do. We learn, we adapt, and we make friends with everything we meet. She paused, looking around the chamber. Well, we make friends with everything that doesn't try to conquer us. Those we tend to blow up first and befriend later. The council laughed or made their species equivalent sounds. Even the Vorathi, who had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations, had to admit they had never encountered anything quite like humanity. As the session ended and representatives mingled, sharing human snacks and alien delicacies, Ambassador Grix approached Chen. Tell me truthfully, did humanity plan all this? The cultural infiltration, the reputation for insanity, the strategic friendships? Chen smiled. Honestly? No, we're making it up as we go. Humans don't really plan long-term. We just react to whatever happens and hope for the best. It's worked for 200,000 years.